Okay, so you know how sometimes there's this idea that seems so simple at first,
Mm-hmm.
but then the more you think about it,
Yeah.
it kind of gets
Gets messy.
super messy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're doing today.
Okay.
We're doing a deep dive on forgiveness,
Right.
and especially how it all connects to God's grace.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's a big one.
It is.
And you send in some really interesting excerpts
Yes,
from this piece called Forgiveness Through God's Grace.
absolutely.
So let's get into it.
Let's unpack it.
Yeah,
It's a topic that I think resonates with a lot of people.
for sure.
And, it really is at the heart of our journey with God.
Absolutely. And this piece starts right out of the gate with a very powerful statement.
Okay.
It says that forgiveness through God's grace is a profound expression of his love and mercy.
Wow. Yeah.
I know for me, sometimes that's such a big concept.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to kind of wrap your head around.
It is. It's hard to even grasp.
Yeah. And what about you? What does that statement kind of make you think of or feel when you hear that?
It makes me think about how sometimes we limit our understanding of grace.
Mm.
We hear that it's undeserved, and I think that we get that, but do we really truly understand the depths of it?
Yeah.
It's almost like, you're trying to fit the ocean into like a teacup or something.
Right.
It's too big.
It's too vast.
Yeah, and I think one image that always helps me is like imagining a debt that you could never repay
Yeah.
and having it completely wiped away.
Mm-hmm.
That's what God does for us through Jesus.
Wow.
And I think it's interesting too, Ephesians 1:7, it talks about not just grace, but it talks about the riches
Oh, wow.
of God's grace. And so just imagine that abundance
Yeah.
overflowing. That's what we're talking about.
That really changes the way I think about it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just escaping punishment. It's like
Right.
we're being invited in
Right.
into this amazing wealth of love. And it makes me think about, how we sometimes struggle to forgive others.
Yeah.
And maybe we're holding back that same, like, abundant grace from them.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I think that's where the real transformation starts to happen. It's not just about saying the words, I forgive you.
Right.
It's about this internal shift.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's helpful to think about it like, when you're holding on to unforgiveness, it's like you're holding on to a burning coal.
Oh.
You want to hurt the other person with it, but really you're the one that's getting burned.
Wow, yeah.
And God's grace allows us to drop that coal and find healing.
Absolutely. And the source also talks about forgiveness as a process.
Right.
And it mentions humility and prayer and trusting God.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, we're looking for that quick fix.
We want the easy button.
Yeah. But this sounds like it takes work.
It does. It takes work, but it's good work.
Yeah.
I think humility is about acknowledging that we need forgiveness too.
Right.
That we all fall short, and it allows us to see the person that we need to forgive through God's eyes.
Yeah. With compassion.
With compassion, exactly. And then prayer, it becomes like that lifeline to God's strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're able to pour out your hurt to him and just ask for guidance.
Yeah. And then trust, that's a big one.
That's a big one.
Because it's basically saying, okay, God.
I'm going to let go.
Yeah. Like, I trust you.
I trust you to handle
To
this.
bring healing and restoration.
Yeah.
Even in the difficult situations.
Even when it's messy.
Yeah. It's like we're learning to, let go of the steering wheel a little bit.
Yeah, let go and let God.
And trust him to navigate those rough waters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think what I find really interesting is how this source connects forgiveness to this ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about following a rule.
Right.
It's about finding peace,
Peace.
reconciliation,
Yes.
and getting closer to God.
It's amazing how it's all interconnected. When we choose to forgive someone, we're actually reflecting God's grace in our own relationships.
Yeah.
Think about a time when you were forgiven by someone
Mm-hmm.
and how freeing that felt.
Yeah.
That's the same freedom that we can offer to others.
Right.
And when we do that, we're actually reflecting God's love and we're
Yeah.
drawing closer to him.
It makes me think, if God's grace empowers us to forgive, does that mean we have a responsibility to offer that same grace
To others.
to others?
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's really difficult? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a powerful question
It is.
for us to think about.
Absolutely.
I think the big takeaway here is that, forgiveness is a journey.
It is a journey.
Sometimes it's an uphill battle,
It can be tough.
but you're not alone.
You're never alone.
God's grace is always there,
It's always there,
like a steady hand
guiding us.
guiding us toward healing and wholeness.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that.
me too.
That's a good one to end on.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Great conversation.
Yeah, this was really insightful.
Me too. I enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. Bye.
Bye.